if Government of India says, no, you must only have Telugu medium in your schools, it becomes a fight between the union and the states. The real issue of improving education is forgotten. Therefore, the policy wisely said, as far as practicable. Therefore, if a state, and perhaps Andhra Pradesh is the only state to my knowledge in India, which is saying all our schools will only have English medium. To my knowledge, I may be, please kindly correct me if I am wrong, there is no other state, tiny states may be saying some Nagaland, etc., but among the large states which have their own languages, no other state is saying that you shall only be taught in English at school level. Now, what I presume is this policy is reasonable and practical and flexible, and therefore most states will adopt this. And eventually, there will be some comparison. Ultimately, all right, if in English medium, you're teaching and they're doing well, you can learn from that and say, all right, why not go for English medium itself? Maybe there's a way of overcoming the handicap. Or supposing you find that if you teach them in English instead of in Telugu or in Marathi, when the first few years the kids are not able to pick up, it's actually hurting them, then you say, look, this is the evidence. Therefore, while the intention is sound, let us improve that. So the comparison will always bring about correctives. I think that's the right way, flexible policy. Otherwise, the whole panchayati, the whole fight will be about language rather than education. So the policy, I think, is flexible. I don't think we must force it down the throats of anybody. But in general, I would say 90% will follow this path because that is the only sensible path. But today, you like it or not, what happened is the aspiration of every family is, rightly or wrongly, a belief that if my kid is taught in English, that kid will do well. And supposing we tell them what we are saying now, it can be easily misunderstood to say, Dr. Jayaprakash Narayan wants his children to go to English medium schools, but he wants my child to go to Telugu medium schools.
Yeah.
It's not about something superior, something inferior. That's why the language I'm using very carefully. I'm not using the expression mother tongue, please remember. I'm not talking of culture. Whatever be the language that the child understands. And then leave it to the parents' wisdom and then let the future reveal itself. Because now things have gone too far. The ship has sailed. We messed up quite a bit. So taking a hard position will not solve the problem. I understand what you're saying. Actually, my son went to a Telugu medium school up to a certain level. The school that taught, the way I'm telling, up to 5th grade or so Telugu medium, up to later they made it bilingual. After 8th grade or so, they moved slowly into English. So I believe in that. But my daughter was born in a government hospital, but I cannot force all society to say, you must only go to this school, you must only do this language, you must only be born in this hospital. These are personal choices. You like it or not. We're in a democracy where already attitudes are hardened. We messed up for 70 years. Therefore, even when you are right, you have to understand the context and be gentle and nudge them and persuade them, because after all, parents don't want to destroy their children. They care for their children more than you and I. If sometimes they have mistaken belief, persuade them, don't impose. If you try to tell them that I know more about your children than you, it's a very offensive thing. You must be respectful. You must show evidence. You must be persuasive. Anything else will not work. But even when you are right, in a democracy, unless you learn to persuade and make them see their best interest, by orders and dictates, more damage will be done. Creation of knowledge and language. Actually, that's, I think, a key requirement. Our languages are not growing. To some extent, Hindi is growing because Hindi is borrowing much more than other Indian languages from wherever it is. But other languages are not growing as much. Even Hindi is inadequately growing compared to the great global languages. World over, in Japan, Japanese, Korea, in China, in Germany, in France, in many other countries, the language of instruction is their local language, and they develop the language to a level where they can accommodate all the modern knowledge. Now, unless we consciously make an effort, a lot of people in a lot of areas, the languages will not grow beyond a point. And therefore, for instance, I studied in Telugu medium, you studied in Telugu medium, but after a point, Telugu medium or Telugu language is not sufficient for you because the knowledge generation is not in Telugu.
Yeah.
Even the vocabulary is not created in Telugu. In fact, I myself created several words in Telugu. I had to, because there are no Telugu words equivalent, but many more words are required. And if you come to sciences and technology, much more needs to be done. We haven't done at all much of that work. Some of us are making some efforts because now technology has come to our aid. There are some wonderful people who are now translating the whole Wikipedia content into Telugu. I completely endorsed it as I participated in their meeting the other day. We'll do whatever it takes to help them. I'm myself translating all the content of khanacademy.org up to 12th grade into Telugu so that the best knowledge, the best way of teaching children, the conceptual knowledge in a modern way without rote learning is available to every kid. My team is actually doing that. And one or two other Indian languages also will do it. It's not so much the cost. You must have the passion, and a very competent team must be there. So the technology now gives us tools. There is no open source software. Many of the courses, take MIT, the world's best engineering school. Its whole course content is now open source software. There's no reason why that should be denied to a Telugu people, provided you develop Telugu language or any Indian language to that level so that somebody who is not very comfortable with English can pick up the same level of knowledge. So that effort must be consciously made in sciences and technology, in humanities, in political science, in administration, a whole lot of areas. And until that happens, there's always going to be a gap. The country is going to be the poorer. But as I said, luckily, now the time has come. The technology is a great leveler, but we must use the technology wisely and swiftly. The second is unquestionably, many families, the poorest families, the aspirational thing is English medium. I myself, I went to Telugu medium school. Then mine was the first intermediate batch, first 10th class batch in the new era, 1969 10th class batch, and then intermediate. I went to Loyola College, which was then the best college in Andhra Pradesh, integrated Andhra Pradesh in terms of college education. I went to the principal myself and I said, Father, I will take admission only if I get English medium here, because there was some talk at the time that they'll introduce Telugu medium. I fought for it. He said, son, if you don't get it, who will get it? Because I got a good score and all that. But the point is, that's a normal aspiration. Therefore, our argument can never be against English. My argument is not against anything, it's for something else. That is, the kid must learn. If the kid does not learn, language is secondary. If the kid learns in English, English is perfect. The kid learns only in Telugu, Telugu is perfect. Then move towards English slowly. Therefore, I never use the idiom and the argument of mother tongue or culture. These are bad arguments. The only argument is the kid's intelligence flourishing? Is the kid's potential fulfilled? Therefore, everybody's aspiration to be proficient in English must be respected, and we must create mechanisms. But in creating mechanisms, there is a building block, there is a ladder. I want to reach the second story. I cannot do it by a single jump. If a kid does not understand a sentence in Telugu or English, then how can the kid learn? A simple thing, this pen is on the table. Supposing you tell them in Telugu, "Ee kalamu lati ee pennu ee balla meeda unnadi." A 3-year-old kid understands instantly. Supposing you're teaching in English medium, now the kid must understand the meaning of this pen is on the table, and then the syntax, the totality, the meaning. By the time this kid tries to understand the meaning of each of these, the kid who's naturally understood what it meant, he's miles ahead. That is the point I'm making. We must give an opportunity for everybody to learn English and grow in English. No question about it. Because that's what the future is. That's what the aspiration is. I'm saying, what is the best way of making it happen? Pretending that we're doing it and ensuring that the kids never grow? Or doing it in a responsible manner so that the kids actually grow? I want to be a doctor, let us say. Nothing wrong in that aspiration. But to be a doctor, there is a certain method. You must study first science, you must understand biology, then you must understand human anatomy, human physiology, then human biochemistry, then pathology, then microbiology, then the medical knowledge, the surgical knowledge, etc., etc. I can't simply give him a stethoscope and say, become a doctor.
Yeah.
So the argument is not about whether this language is right or wrong. For good or for bad, in India, we no longer have the luxury of saying our languages are so well developed, everybody has an opportunity, you can learn, therefore use our language. It's not true. During Nizam's time, even medicine was taught in Urdu. Dr. Channa Reddy did his MBBS in Urdu medium. He was also a very proficient English speaker. In fact, I knew Dr. Channa Reddy very well. He was one of the most sophisticated users of English language. But he studied in Urdu medium, MBBS. The kind of work they have done to develop languages, we failed to do. Therefore, you like it or not, English medium is necessary as you go higher and higher in India today. But therefore, the first question you asked about improving the languages, developing the languages, allowing them to grow. The second, preparing the kids to be able to understand and utilize language. So it's not about which language, whatever the language, does the kid understand? And does the teacher who teaches understand? Even for me, when I went to intermediate, and I was by any means a reasonably good kid, I refused to mug up essays and all that. I wrote my own English essays and other things at school. Despite that, it took me several months to get adjusted to English medium. That's the truth. I'm not saying that effort should not be made. It must be made at appropriate level. Once you understand syntax, once you have a basic vocabulary, once you understand the language and the ideas flow easily for you, and the sequence of logic is easy for you, then you can learn in that language. Learning the language is different from learning in the language. If I can't easily, if the conversational flow I don't understand, if ideas do not flow, how do I learn in that language? I pretend that I learn. As I said before, if supposing somebody made this address in Mandarin language, he's a brilliant Chinese scholar, a Nobel laureate, but he spoke in Mandarin. Would any of us understand? No matter how intelligent, how smart, how well-educated you are, how many degrees you have. So what's the purpose of that? If people of our background cannot understand a language we don't know, how can the small child understand a teaching in a language that the child has not learned? That's all I'm saying. So let's not make it an issue of rich or poor. The rich and the poor are entitled to get English education. But let's first teach them English and teach them how to learn in English before teaching them in English. The sequencing is all I'm urging for the sake of our children.